The sound of a screen door snapping shut, the smell of lemon wax on the kitchen floor, a little paper calendar by the phone, with neat handwriting and a few underlined days. In the 1960s, retirees stayed independent with habits so normal, nobody called them tricks. They just did them, and they worked. If you like old school ways that keep you in charge, subscribing means you won't miss the next one. Some of these were so quiet, they almost disappeared on purpose. The porch light signal. Let's start with the alarm system that ran on common sense and a little pride. Many 1960s retirees kept one simple daily sign that said, "All is well," like the porch light on by dusk, the same curtain opened each morning, or a radio playing at breakfast. Neighbors noticed patterns without snooping, because people still lived close enough to care in a normal way. When that little sign changed, someone did a friendly check, not a formal wellness call that made you feel like a case file. It stopped small trouble early, like a fall you could still stand up from, or a flu day that needed soup and a ride. This worked because it used what we all need most as we age: being seen without feeling watched. A lot of modern systems replace that with buttons, fees, and strangers on speakerphone, and somehow the loneliness gets worse. Keep a simple signal, and you also make it easier to run the next trick because it depends on having one clear home base for your day: the kitchen table map. And once the neighborhood rhythm existed, the home rhythm mattered just as much. Many retirees used the kitchen table like a control center, even if they never used a fancy name for it. One paper calendar stayed in plain sight with big, simple notes like Dr. Harris 1030 or Bill Day, so nothing hid in your head. A small pad held the grocery list and a short call list, so you never hunted for numbers when you felt tired or upset. People also kept a folder for receipts and letters, because loose paper turns into panic fast when something goes missing. The calm power of this trick is that it protects your attention, and attention is what slips first when life gets noisy. When your day looks steady on paper, your family worries less and you worry less too, because you can point to a plan. It also makes you harder to push around because you know what you agreed to and when you agreed to it. If you've ever felt someone talk over you at an appointment, you know why that matters. And speaking of appointments, the next trick ties your health to a steady time, so you don't rely on memory alone. The same time routine. Now here's the kind of habit that looks boring, right up until it saves you. Many 1960s retirees tied key tasks to the same time every day, like a quiet train schedule they could trust. Breakfast happened, then morning pills, then a quick tidy, then a walk to the mailbox or the front step for fresh air. When you do it that way, you don't spend the day wondering, "Did I already take that?" Because the routine answers for you. It also helps you spot changes early, like new swelling, dizziness, or unusual pain, because you feel you're normal on the same clock each day. People often lose independence after a slow slide of skipped meals, missed pills, and poor sleep, and nobody notices until the wheels come off. This routine acts like a gentle early warning, and it does it without drama or gadgets. You also feel more confident because your day has rails, and that confidence shows to everyone around you. Once your day runs steady, the next trick makes the house itself friendlier, so getting up and sitting down never feels like a gamble. The chair check rule. And here's a rule many older folks followed without ever saying it out loud. They chose chairs that helped them stand up safely, not chairs that trapped them low and soft. A firm seat, solid arms, and the right height turned standing into a smooth move instead of a wrestling match. People kept at least one good chair in the main room because you need a safe landing spot when you feel tired or lightheaded. They also arranged furniture so you had a sturdy touch point along the way, like the back of a heavy chair or the edge of a solid table, not a flimsy thing that slides. This isn't about weakness, and it isn't about giving up style either. It's about removing the moment when you think, "I'm stuck," because that moment creates fear, and fear makes people freeze and fall. A lot of companies sell expensive gear after a bad fall, but this old trick tries to stop the fall before it ever happens. When the sitting and standing parts of life feel safe, you move more, and movement keeps you independent. And once you start moving with confidence, you notice the next danger faster, because it's the one that waits right under your feet. The rug and cord sweep. Now let's talk about the quiet hazards that don't look dangerous until they bite you. In many 1960s homes, retirees did a quick floor sweep with their eyes, like they were checking the road before driving. They flattened curled rug edges, moved throw rugs away from high traffic spots, and ran cords tight along walls instead of across walking paths. They kept the route from bed to bathroom wide and clear because nobody walks perfectly at 2 a.m. with sleep in their eyes. A small lamp sat within reach, not across the room like a dare, and a night light often stayed on in the hall. People also kept shoes or slippers with real grip because slick soles turn a small stumble into a hard fall. This is not about making the house look like a clinic. It's about keeping your home from turning into an obstacle course that slowly scares you into staying seated. When you feel safe walking, you keep doing your own tasks, and that protects your pride and your strength. Once the floors feel steady, the next trick helps you save energy in the kitchen, where fatigue can build up fast without you noticing. The sit-down kitchen. And then there's the kitchen trick that kept meals simple and backs happy. Many 1960s retirees did more prep work sitting down, even when they could stand just fine. A sturdy stool by the counter let them peel potatoes, trim green beans, or slice apples without locking their knees for long stretches. They kept the most used pans and plates at waist height so they didn't reach high or crouch low, which is where balance slips. They also cooked in small batches, like a pot of soup, a pan of baked chicken, or a simple casserole, so tomorrow's meal felt easy instead of overwhelming. You can hear the difference in mood when food feels handled, because hunger and low blood sugar make everything harder, including thinking clearly. This is why losing the ability to cook often starts the talk about extra help or a safer place, even when the person is still sharp. A sit-down kitchen keeps you fed, and being well-fed keeps you steady on your feet and calmer in your mind. It also helps you keep the house clean without strain because you aren't exhausted by noon. And when you're not exhausted, it's easier to keep the next habit going, which is the one that stops loneliness from turning into real risk, the phone tree habit. Now we get to the kind of safety net that feels like friendship, because it is. Many retirees kept a simple phone routine, often with just 2 or 3 people, and they did it so often it became normal. Someone called after breakfast or after supper or during the evening news, and the chat stayed light unless something felt off. The magic of that routine is that it creates a baseline, so silence stands out right away without anyone feeling nosy. If a person didn't answer the call or tried again, then maybe walked over, because it felt normal to check on people you cared about. Compare that to today, where folks can go quiet for days and everyone worries about bothering them. Paid monitoring can help, sure, but a friend who knows your voice can hear trouble in the first few seconds. This habit also keeps minds sharper, because conversation is exercise you don't notice doing. It gives your day a little spark, and sparks matter when you live alone. Once you have that circle, the next trick makes emergencies less scary because it gives helpers the facts they need fast. The one-page health sheet. And here's a piece of paper that has saved more independence than most people realize. Many 1960s retirees kept a single page with the basics: medicines, allergies, past surgeries, and the doctor's name and phone number. They put it where it made sense, like near the landline, inside a kitchen cabinet, or in a folder on the table so someone else could find it fast. They also wrote 1 or 2 trusted contacts and where the spare key lived in plain words, not in a secret code only they understood. The point was simple. If you get confused, faint, or hurt, you don't want people guessing while time ticks by. Quick, clear action can turn a scary moment into a short visit and a safe return home. When information stays locked behind passwords, dead phones, or a foggy memory, the system takes over, and that's when people get pushed into temporary stays that stretch into months. This one-page sheet keeps your voice present even if you can't speak for a moment. It also lowers your own worry, because you know you're not leaving others to scramble. And once worry drops, money feels easier to manage, which brings us to the next habit that kept many retirees calm and in control: the cash envelope rhythm. Now let's talk about the old money habit that kept people steady, even on a modest income. Many retirees used cash envelopes or a simple weekly budget card because you can't argue with what you can see. Groceries had their envelope, gas had its envelope, and little treats had their envelope. And when it ran low, you slowed down. It wasn't about being cheap, it was about staying free from surprise bills and guilt. People also paid bills on a set day, often right after their check arrived, so the month felt predictable instead of tense. That predictability matters because fear about money makes people hand over control just to be safe. And control is hard to get back once it's gone. It also keeps you from signing up for services you don't need, the kind that show up with friendly promises and quiet monthly costs. When you can say, "I've got it handled," people treat you like an adult, not a problem to solve. And when you feel handled, errands stop feeling like a threat because you're not carrying a cloud of worry into every store. That leads right into the next trick, which is how 1960s retirees ran errands without burning through their energy. The one-loop errands. And here's a habit that made leaving the house feel doable, even on days you didn't feel perfect. Many retirees planned errands as one calm loop, not as four separate trips that wore them down. They grouped stops by location, parked once when they could, and chose quieter hours so they didn't rush or get flustered. A short list kept things clear, and they gave themselves permission to stop after 2 or 3 tasks and finish tomorrow. They also carried the same small go bag each time with glasses, a pen, a list, and a little cash, so they didn't leave key items behind. This matters because energy is more precious than people admit, and once you spend it all, the rest of the day collapses. When you come home wiped out, you skip cooking, you skip cleaning, and you might skip a shower, and then others decide you can't cope. A care decision often starts with a messy week, not with a real loss of ability. One-loop errands protect your energy and your image, and both keep you independent. And when you still have energy after errands, you can do the next trick, which builds strength without gyms, mirrors, or pressure. The strength hidden in plain sight. Now here's the funny part about many 1960s retirees. They trained without calling it training. They did small strength moves in plain sight, like slow toe raises while the coffee brewed or gentle counter push-ups while the toast browned. They stood up from a chair a few extra times before the evening news because legs keep you living at home. They carried lighter grocery bags in 2 trips instead of 1 heavy trip because steady beats strain, and strain leads to injury. They also used daily life as practice, like stepping up a curb with care, turning their head both ways, and keeping their balance honest. This kind of movement protects the muscles that catch you when you stumble, and it protects the joints that let you turn without fear. You don't need special clothes, and you don't need to feel watched, and that's why people actually stick with it. When strength stays, confidence stays, and when confidence stays, people keep driving, shopping, and visiting friends. Modern life often tells older adults to take it easy, then acts shocked when bodies get weaker. Keep strength in the quiet moments, and the next trick becomes easier too because it's about staying ahead of small home problems before they pile up. The Sunday Repair Minute. And then there's the habit that kept houses from turning into stress machines. Many retirees set aside a small weekly repair minute, often on Sunday, to walk the home and notice what changed. They checked light bulbs, listened for odd rattles, wiped up slick spots, and tightened a loose rail before it became a real hazard. They oiled a sticky hinge, fixed a wobbly step, and replaced a worn mat because waiting only makes repairs bigger and scarier. This routine did something else too. It kept them feeling like owners, not like people waiting for permission. When the home feels under control, the mind settles, and a settled mind makes better choices. A lot of big care changes start with the sentence, "The house is too much," and sometimes it is, but often it's just neglected little things. Fixing one small thing a week keeps the home friendly, and it keeps family from seeing the place as a danger zone. It also saves money because small fixes cost less than big emergencies. Once you keep the house steady, the next trick becomes the final safety layer because it decides what happens if you ever need someone to get inside fast. The spare key circle. But perhaps the most personal trick is the one that can prevent a bad day from turning into a life change. Many 1960s retirees chose 1 or 2 trusted people and made a clear spare key plan with no mystery and no shame. A neighbor had a key, or a nearby relative did, and everyone agreed on when it was okay to use it. People also kept the front step well lit and the house number easy to see because confusion wastes time when minutes matter. The goal isn't to give up privacy. The goal is to choose your helpers before strangers choose them for you. When nobody has a key, help can mean broken doors, long delays, and decisions made while you feel shaken and tired. When the right person can step in fast, you have a better shot at staying home after a scare instead of getting pushed into a short stay that grows legs. This also removes a quiet fear that sits in the back of many minds. What if I fall and nobody can get in? When fear drops, life opens up again. And once life opens up, the last trick becomes the best one of all because it gives you a reason to keep showing up. The weekly purpose date. And then we end with the ingredient people forget because it doesn't come in a bottle or a service plan. Many 1960s retirees kept a standing purpose in the week like it was an appointment with life. It might be bowling night, choir practice, a volunteer shift, a library visit, a garden club, or helping a neighbor with a small job. The point wasn't to stay busy for the sake of it. The point was to stay needed because being needed pulls you through low days when everything feels heavy. When you have a purpose date, you keep getting dressed, you keep eating decent meals, and you keep your mind awake. You also stay connected to people who notice if you seem off, which protects you in a way no pamphlet explains. This is one reason some folks stayed sharp and steady at home for years, even when their bodies slowed down. Purpose keeps you stubborn in the best way, and that stubbornness can protect your home longer than any gadget. Put one purpose date on the calendar and guard it, and the rest of these old tricks start working even better.